What's up, guys? Iceman here. Welcome to Diablo 4. So, methinks that Diablo 4 Season 5 is going to be the best way to play Diablo 4 thus far. And I know that there's been a lot of videos out there. A lot of folks talking shit. Diablo 4 this, Diablo 4 that. Season 5 is going to be wretched, etc. And to an extent, I can understand the criticism, alright? It's important to criticize the games that we like, I think, if there's anything to be criticized, which of course there almost always is. It probably helps to an extent to send the message over to the developers. Now, whether or not they listen to the message is another issue. But nonetheless, it's good to criticize the games that we like. Some would argue, of course, Diablo 4 is to the point of no return. There's a lot of guys on the internet saying how this is now Diablo 3.5 or something, how they completely abandoned the whole let's make it like Diablo 2 notion that Blizzard made mention of some time ago. Which I think is accurate. That they have abandoned that sort of intent a while ago. But that's not to say that it's entirely like Diablo 3, because I did play Diablo 3 a few months ago, well, a few weeks ago. And I was pleasantly surprised by how shitty of a game I thought it was in comparison to Diablo 4 in its current iteration. I thought that going back to Diablo 3 was going to be a sort of experience of a fully fleshed out game, right? Because I just remember as time progressed after Diablo 3's release, they just kept adding and adding and adding things to it, and eventually it kind of felt like a fully fleshed out game with a little bit to do, you know? I didn't like it how they added so many damn difficulties. I didn't like it how they were pussies and were too afraid to implement nerfs when necessary to balance things out. Because instead of that, they just chose to buff everything. I think they're afraid to do nerfs. And they still are, which is actually one of my primary concerns with Diablo 4. They're afraid to nerf things because they know the babies are going to whine. The babies are going to complain on Twitter that their current build no longer works, so they're just going to buff everything instead. But what that does is it just forces them to make higher level difficulties, you know what I mean? So it's a very stupid approach. It's a lazy approach, and it's a pussy-ass move. You know, you gotta man up a little bit and be willing to nerf shit. Now, if they were to do the let's just keep buffing everything, then I think the best approach with that, in order for it to not feel like garbage, like where Diablo 3 went, would be to buff the difficulty then. Instead of making World Tier 5, World Tier 6, World Tier 7, and all that convoluted bullshit, you could just make World Tier 4 a hell of a lot harder. When you guys in the comments of my previous video said how you think they should buff World Tier 4 by like 50% in terms of the monster defense and offense, you know what I mean? They have more life, they do more damage, things like that. I mean, to me, that makes sense. I don't want to have 15 or 16 difficulties, you know what I mean? 4 is enough. I remember in Diablo 3, all you do, you just start skipping ahead. It doesn't even matter. It's just a race to do the highest difficulty. So you have all these, like, Torment 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I just remember skipping like 4 at a time until you can feel out what your character can do roughly. And then you just do a couple greater rifts, and all of a sudden you can do the endgame difficulty anyway with ease. It's just... it's not immersive when you could just tweak the difficulty to that extent. You know what I mean? It breaks the world. Like in Diablo 1, it had normal, nightmare, hell. And then in Diablo 2, it had normal, nightmare, hell. And they all were rewarding because even though you'd play through the same content, they would drop higher tier items, the monsters, you know what I mean? And some of them would have more effects going on. Like you'd run into bosses more frequently who were lightning enchanted or had fanaticism or concentration aura or would cast amp damage or decrepify, you know what I mean? You just run into that more. Amp damage primarily. I think decrepify was restricted to like Baal and Oblivion Knights in the Chaos Sanctuary. But that made it an interesting world, you know what I mean? And it incentivized us to run Nightmare again and to run Hell again. And the great thing about those 3 difficulties is you could find endgame stuff in any of them. Now, of course, you could find the most in Hell. But I remember how exciting it was to get to Nightmare because you were like, wow, I could find an rune or something in Act 1. Or I could find a Pul rune. Or I could find a Lem rune at the least and make my treachery armor. And then as I progressed through Nightmare, I could potentially find some endgame stuff. Like String of Ears Sash. Blade of Alibaba for my sorceress to have on Switch. You know what I mean? Stone of Jordan, I could find one of those. And then Hell's the next level. You could be like, well, I could find all this stuff here. Especially in the 85 areas. Find a Wind Force, a Griffin's Eye. Tyrael's Might. Of course, Tyrael's Might is complete garbage in Diablo 2. Just a collector's item. All the endgame runes, you know, make a Breath of the Dying, make a freaking Enigma, make an Infinity. You know what I mean? Like, they all had... It was just exciting, the fact that when you got to Nightmare, you could potentially find some endgame stuff. Like, there's a couple slots on your character where you could potentially find an endgame piece. Like the Stone of Jordan ring, for example, or Ravenfrost ring, for that matter, or String of Ears. Belt. Waterwalk boots for some builds. You know, War Trab's a great example. Ghoul Riders. All are just Nightmare or exceptional items. You know what I mean? Herald of Zakarum. Paladin's Shield, you know? That was awesome. But where we're at so far in Diablo 4, I think isn't that bad of a place. We live in a day, an age, where we're just getting so much all at once, all the time fed to us, you know what I mean? At the tips of our fingers, there's just like all the information, everyone's opinion in the world, who wants to state it, all at once, all the time. And it's probably easy to dissent. Because there's something about negativity that is, like, attractive or something, right? Or alluring. And that's why, like I said before, if you want to do yourself a favor and enjoy Diablo 4, I would recommend to stop copy-pasting guides, you know? Stop watching all the videos where they're like just showing off all the endgame gear, all the endgame stuff and how it functions. And then, I mean, you pretty much hit the peak of the dopamine then when you just watch that shit and it's pretty much over. It's like cutting to the chase, you know what I mean? When a lot of the enjoyment is in the adventure in itself. It's not in the, oh, I decked out my character and all my gear has freaking 12 out of 12 masterwork, you know? And I have all the endgame slots done away with, and I have my Paragon just the way it has to be according to this one specific guide. You know, there's like nothing left to find. I think it ruins the experience. I mean, this is a treasure hunting game, man. How many times I gotta say it? You know, there's not much skill involved in a game like this. You got 5 buttons, most of which are on cooldown, and you're just button mashing. There's a little bit of dodging here and there, a little bit of timing, but not a lot. And the timing is diminished. When almost all your skills are on cooldown, the timing has far less of an effect. You know what I'm saying? So the chase isn't the challenge because there is no damn challenge. The chase is in the treasure hunt. Alright? That's what's so fun about these games. That's what's so fun about Diablo 2, for example, or Diablo 1. It's the treasure hunt. That's where the journey is. Alright? Once you find all the shit, it's game over. Because all the fucking whiny babies just want them to give you all the shit. I mean, are things even rare anymore? I mean, they got the uber uniques. How rare are those now? Maybe it was a bit excessive how it was on release. Alright, I'll admit that. Maybe it was a bit excessive. But I think there should always be items that are that rare. You know what I mean? There just has to be layers and higher tiers of rarity. You know what I'm saying? So I think there should always be items that are like that rare. Where like you might not find it, but you might find. And if you do, you're going to look badass. You're going to get the envy of all your homies. You know what I mean? There's a lot of the allure in these games. But yeah, I would recommend, if you guys want to have the best experience possible, don't go watching all those videos and all the end game bullshit. Just take this as it is. You got to approach it like a child. Alright? You got to become blind if you want to see. So enter Season 5, and the expansion for that matter. Don't be watching all that bullshit. Don't be going on that Icy Veins, that Max Roll, just copy, paste, and all that shit. I mean, what's the, you know, you're just racing to get all the little numbers above the head, you know what I mean? Then the number's going to be above the head, they're going to be the biggest numbers, you're going to be like, okay, I'm done. Come on, man. You got to read a little bit, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't really like to read, but I mean, that's part of the experience in this game. Is you know, just go through your Paragon board and read this shit as you progress. You know what I mean? Just every little note and all that shit. Just and your skills. Experiment with the items that you find. You know, the uniques, the rare, or not the rares. Nobody uses rares because itemization in this game kind of sucks big, you know what, in some regards. But yeah, nonetheless, you can mess around with things like this. You know, the Oculus, how you say that? Different legendary powers, just mess around. I mean, that's where the spiritual journey is, I think. But Season 5 is going to be, as far as I see it, everything Season 4 was, and more. And Season 4, a lot of us had good things to say about it. You got the tempering added, the masterworking added, you got the pit added, right? And they found a good balance with the pit, in that you don't really have to do the highest pit. You just have to hit a certain tier to find the endgame crafting materials. And from there, you can then experiment with build variety, you know what I mean? Whereas if they had the chase be at the peak of the pit, it would funnel us all down into just one damn build. And games like that already exist. Go play Diablo 3 if you like that style. You know, so you can't really have the chase be at like the top of the pit, for example. But I think it's a pretty good balance where it's at. Because it allows, again, for build variety and experimentation, which is a lot of what is enjoyable in games like this, I think. The pit isn't perfect. What's up with them only having like 4 or 5 maps of the pit? What the hell? You know, add some variety there. You know, have them be theme-based. Like, why the hell aren't they theme-based? Again, it's just this whole everything at once all the time bullshit, which is what we see in a lot of things today. But that ends up equating to no variety. When the bullshit is all at once all the time, it's all the same always. You know what I'm saying? So there's no variety. Variety is when you can go one place and it's thematic. There's like a theme to it and shit. Like Diablo 2, you go to the desert place. You could go to the you go to a little hut and get yourself a gyro or something. You know what I mean? People wearing rags and shit, protecting themselves from the sun and the sand. You know what I'm saying? Different dialects and shit. You know what I mean? And then you go to like the jungle. You know what I mean? Like it's nice having some variety. God damn. And then you go to the snowland. You see all these Nordic motherfuckers. Talk like their name's Sven or something, or Skalsgard or some shit, you know what I mean? They're all wearing animal furs and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's nice to have variety. And you don't get that when these fucking idiots are just compacting everything all the time, all at once and always. God damn. It's like they're doing it on purpose, you know? I mean, I think they are doing it on purpose. You know how the Joker says in that video, what's that video called? It's called The Dark Knight, that video. I saw that video when it came out in the theaters. The Joker says it's not about the money. It's about sending a message. And he says everything burns, you know what I mean? That's the problem, is these companies, they're not really working because of the money. You know, if they were doing it because of the money, and some of you guys I think have this confused a little bit. If they're doing it because of the money, they do things that the fans want. You know, I mean, these characters are ugly as fuck. You know, do you think that sells? That doesn't sell. You know, people want visually appealing characters at the least, all right? People want attractive characters. And they intentionally go out of the way and make them ugly as fuck. That's not going to bring in buyers, you know what I mean? They're sending a fucking message. That's what because this is subsidized. It's not the global economy and all that. It's not built on things of intrinsic value anymore. That's why they tricked it all away. You know, I mean, hell, I got some, look at this, I got some silver right here. Nice little piece of silver. That's intrinsic value right there. You know, there's intrinsic shit in the silver. They make like circuit boards and all that, don't they? Circuit boards, jewelry, electronics, same thing with the gold. Check that out, a gold coin. It's just getting more and more expensive. Because the US dollar and all that is getting devalued, you know what I mean? Like these people, they're not doing it for the money. The money's fake. Alright? We call it fiat currency. There's no value behind it. It's not even paper anymore. It used to at least have some value in the paper. It's like worth like a penny, you know, like $100 bills, you know what I mean? In terms of its intrinsic value. But now, they're getting off the paper. It's just numbers on a screen. It's just all digital bullshit. All right, and they manipulate it, and they subsidize things, you know what I mean? Like, who really knows where all this shit is coming from and going, you know what I mean? So they're able to keep these entities going. They're able to keep those cogs turning, even if they're doing shit that the customer base hates, you know what I mean? Even if they're doing stuff that works against their bottom line, which is fake. You know, and that's, I suppose that's a bit of a different subject, but I mean, it all ties in. They're trying to make a sort of balance at least. At least they're trying to fake it as though they're trying to pretend that they're doing what we want them to do. You know what I mean? They're trying to pretend that they're trying to appease us. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And to an extent, Season 5, I think, is going to be okay. Yeah, there's things that would change. But, I mean, I'm going to have a good time. And I'm going to make a sorcerer. And I don't give a toad that the sorcerer is going to be lacking in terms of the little numbers blasting above her head. You know what I mean? Like a lot of folks complaining how the sorcerer's nerfed this and that. It already sucked big, you know what? I mean, I think the teleport nerf was a huge mistake. Why the hell would you nerf teleport? Come on, that's like the one thing that they could do. They could teleport around. You know, now you're going to tell me I can't do it, you know, more than once every 14 seconds at the start? Then I gotta bust my ass trying to chop down that cooldown? That's fucking bullshit. You know, you're telling me you're gonna nerf the teleport when half the damn walls you can't even teleport through anyway? And you don't know it until you try? And when you try, your cooldown sets off, and then you have to sit there and wait and try again for the next wall and see if it works then? You know, what the toad's going on here? I mean, can you fix that, please? But yeah, Season 5 is going to be a good time, all right? It's going to be a spiritual journey if you enter it like that of a child. So let me know if you guys are with me on that. Let me know if you're going to be there. I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you tomorrow. Like this video if you will. Subscribe to the page. Hit the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace be with you.